Hey, I am Sarah Darrow. I do social media content strategy for Old Dominion University's distance learning program. So basically, if it's out there in the world and it's talking about ODU online, I either wrote it or I'm really irritated that I didn't. I came to ODU through the media. So before ODU, I worked for Wavy. Before Wavy, I worked for the Weather Channel. Before the Weather Channel, I worked for CNN. And I had a lot of digital marketing scattered in there. So I worked for nonprofits. I have a lot of stories from social media engagement because I came up through CNN when Facebook was just emerging and MySpace was still a thing. And I, by the way, was doing that when I was 5 years old. And now I am marketing and content full time, and that is my expertise. And this is my dazzling presentation partner, Lindsey.
You can call me Dazzling. My name is Lindsey Germono, and I am the president and founder of Germono Advertising Company. We are a teaching advertising agency headquartered in downtown Norfolk. We have monthly workshops. We have actually one coming up next week called Lattes and Laptops. And this is where we invite business owners to come in and we teach them how to use Facebook and Instagram to grow their business. I think it's like 30 or 35 bucks. I mean, you get free coffee too. I'm also a podcaster, so my podcast name is called Drop and Give Me 20, like push-ups. I won't do them right here. And that podcast is tailored to military entrepreneurs. So we have active duty, military spouse, and veteran business owners on the podcast. And then the other hat I wear is I work with the United States Chamber of Commerce in their Hiring Our Heroes division, which focuses on employment for military veterans and military spouses. So as you can see, I'm very passionate about military affairs and military advocacy. My staff is here, so if you have any questions about the agency, please talk to Bobby Ann or Callie. Thank you guys all for coming today, and I hope that we can manage your expectations.
Yeah, right? Don't expect to learn anything.
But the other thing I wanted to mention really quickly is, engaging on social media. I know that there are some folks in the room that I've actually never met in person, but we're connected on things like LinkedIn. So I truly believe in the power of engaging on social media. I know that it's a lot of work. It is absolutely a full-time job. Your managers come in, they're like, post that on social media, and you're like, what? So it is a full-time thing. I mean, it is something that takes a lot of work and a lot of energy, but it does pay off.
So this presentation is in a top tips format, and we are tag teaming it all along the way. So we're going to take turns. You will be prompted to ask questions. Please ask those questions. You don't even have to think about it. I told you which ones to ask. So, okay, are we ready? First up.
Okay, so I mentioned this a little bit in my introduction. It takes a lot of time. So if you're not behind that, we just come and talk to me so I can really get you around that, especially if you're in a position where you're employing somebody and you're like, go do social media. It just takes a lot of time, and with the algorithms, they are always changing. So the functionality of things like Facebook stories and Instagram stories, if you pull up Facebook on your phone, the amount of real estate that the story function has is about 40% of your phone screen. And that's fairly new, like within the past 6 or 7 months, right? So it takes a lot of time. The one thing that I do want to recommend is that if you schedule it into your planner or whatever that you do, I would incorporate about 15 to 20 minutes per day. Book it out like a meeting. So actually put it in your calendar and tell everybody to buzz off because you're working on social media. So 15 to 20 minutes is pretty manageable. What you're going to do at that time is pull up your LinkedIn profile, talk about something that you know about, pull up Instagram, pull up Facebook. We tend to want to automate things, so there are programs out there that can schedule that stuff for you, but I like to get into the feeds manually so I can engage with others. Tell me your first name again. Carlos is going to be my best friend because he's sitting up in the front. Bless his heart. But if Carlos just puts a piece of beautiful artwork on Instagram and I'm online at that time, it gives me an opportunity to start conversing with Carlos, right? So, that's just kind of where we want to jump off and really set the foundation on. It takes a lot of time. Pencil it into your calendar just like you would a meeting and tell your manager, you got to get out of my office. I need to be on social media right now, okay? Yeah, see how that works, but.
Also, pro tip, Facebook is updating their ads sizes, formats, and text copy requirements, and that all drops on August 14th. So I have to go to work and change all of my ads that are starting on September 1st. So you're like me, let's go get a drink sometime. Okay, so to talk about automation, be a human. We are all humans, and we're conversing through machines, but you gotta be a person. So I point out, it will take you more time to program a bot to respond appropriately than it will to just do it. And you have the bonus of you'll learn the language to use, you'll adapt, you'll figure out more about your audience every interaction you have. So here's a really great example, and this is from a few years ago, but do you remember when Domino's decided that they were going to take on all of their bad stuff, right? They said, we send out crappy pizzas and we want to hear about them, we will fix it. So they did that, and they were fixing it, and they were really turning that ship around, and it was taking a long time, but they were slowly earning their customers and their fans back. Well, this lady posts, "This is a great pizza, I love it," and Domino's bot says, "So sorry about that." Because they were it was just automated. So now there are some opportunities, right? So chatbots are the thing, but you hear about those from companies like Google and HubSpot and companies that have way more on the balance sheet than probably all of us put together. And if they have the time and the talent to program their AI to respond in a way that's going to be intelligent and thoughtful and humanish, good for them. I can't do that. I've never worked for a company that could do that. Even when I worked for CNN, which is a multinational company, I couldn't do that. So be a human. Just don't apologize for what you do well because your robot can't tell the difference.
Have you guys ever been online and you're in a chat function and you know it's automated and you know it's a robot and you're like, just get me to a person? And that feeling of when you actually speak to, and you know, you're not even speaking to them, but you're in a chat function and you know, I actually have a real person now. So that's what we want to, convey to you in your marketing and your social media, is be that real person. People can tell, your followers can tell, your social media followers are people that are messaging you. Another really good example is Chewy.com. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, they have nailed it. They send handwritten notes, and things like that to thank you. But we have 2 dogs. I have a bull mastiff and a cocker spaniel. If anybody wants to talk about that, we can later. And the thing that they always do is they coin them by name. So how's Athena doing? How's Tucker doing? I'm like, he's a little a-hole right now, but he's fine. And it's just so personal. And I will always do business with them because they make me feel so important, just one person.
So another example of a human being reversing the narrative is Comcast, right? Worst reputation ever. Everyone hates Comcast, to the point that it's fun to hate Comcast. And they took a note from Domino's and enlisted this Twitter army. And every time someone tweeted at Comcast, a human being responded. And it's usually complaints, right? Because rarely do you go on to Twitter to be like, you know what, I had a great experience with today, my cable hookup. No one ever says that. So Comcast hires this army of Twitter users who I'm sure were paid in the 20, 30 range, right? But there was always someone on, and there was always at least 5 people, and they signed every tweet with their initials, so you knew it was different people. And I tweeted about how interesting it was to see Comcast doing this positive interaction, and one of the soldiers was like, "You're welcome." And it was just and I was like, well, I have literally never been impressed with you before, but now I am, so.
So we always want to start with a plan. I don't know what you guys use internally, but we like to use a program called Basecamp. It looks just like a calendar function, like Microsoft Outlook. Hi, I keep meaning to come over and say hi to you. So you can use something like Basecamp, Slack, Trello. I've gone into organizations, multi-billion-dollar organizations, and we've taken a paper calendar and slapped that bad boy up on the wall. So I want you guys to understand that is absolutely something we have to do. Here at the agency, we work at least 30 days out on our social media content writing, and then everything is approved before, so August is done. Right, Callie? So, starting with a plan, Basecamp, I think it's $20 a month. I would highly recommend it. I don't have an affiliate link. I'm just saying what's worked for us. But you can also use something like Google Drive, and that way you can give other people or other folks in your business, the ability to add. The thing I like about Basecamp is when we're talking about July 15th, I can communicate with someone just on that date. I don't have to give them access to the entire stuff. So if I need Jill in finance to put an image of her and her dog, I'm just going to give her the ability to do that in Basecamp. And so there are a lot of other people in this room that are way smarter than me that probably can develop something for you, but definitely want to start with a plan. So our agency, we take about 7 to 10 days to content write for 30 days of work. That's a lot of time, right? But we're drafting it all out. And we'll leave openings in our calendar so you can post things on the fly, or you can do stories and things like that. But you want to be able to walk into the month going, 80% of that month is already done. Like, I know I'm going to be at Marketers Anonymous back in May whenever I was honored with the opportunity to be invited. So we preloaded and scheduled, and put all that stuff together. Because if you don't plan, you're going to do it haphazardly, and you're just going to shotgun marketing it out and hoping somebody will attend, right? We are very strategic in making sure that we have that plan. So look into those platforms and see which one works best for you. We can show you Basecamp version 2. Don't get version 3. They do the calendar like this, what's this called? Not horizontal, lateral, vertical. And I need it to look like this. I need a start week with Monday, end it on Sunday. So that is version 2 that will do it that way, but whatever way works best for you and your organization.
We use 3. I like it.
See?
But it's all about how your mind frames things. Okay, so this is my horror story that I am sharing with you. So ODU Online never had a ton of engagement. We post, we had our students, we got a lot, we had a lot of inquiries and things, but they came through like the more direct path. So they would message us directly. Like, rarely did we get a ton of comments on posts or ads, or like we got a lot of shares from our partners and things like that. This lady, we started an ad run in, oh my gosh, it must have been like March, I guess. We started an ad run for sponsored ads. And this lady had beef, crazy beef. And so it had nothing to do with us. She was not an online student. She wasn't an active student. She attended ODU for we looked into it. She attended ODU for 1 semester. She didn't ever go to class. And because of that, she sort of just had this, she wanted stuff she wanted us to refund her money or whatever, which we had nothing to do with. Yeah, so she kept going. There was nothing we could have done to help her, right? So I'm over here thinking, what do I do? I get to validation a little bit later, but I was like, I gotta respond to her, because otherwise it's just gonna be this dangling hateful thread out in the world. So I just said, this is not us, but I'll pass your feedback along. I'm not on your academic team because of FERPA. I can't even look you up. Also, she didn't use her real name. So I don't, there was nothing here that I could do anything with, but I took the screenshots, I sent it to the right teams, and then she starts in with this stuff. And I only showed you a screenshot, one, but she dug into every ad we had running and was just like, ODU's the worst, and we hate them, and they're miserable. And I went to every single one and replied and said, hey, and I tried not to sound snarky, but I was feeling very, very snarky. I was this guy. But I said, just so you know, here's an update on your student complaint. It's with the ODU Cares team, because we really do have a very supportive academic community. And I hate that she had that experience. And even though she was not one of our students, and will clearly never be one of our students because she's got this rage-filled issue, her, even if it's something that is obviously and then when you read it, it doesn't even really make a lot of sense, but, you got to validate people. You've got to be human, because if it's not her, every comment is going to bump your exposure, especially on Facebook. It's going to bump your exposure by a factor of, 15 or 10 or whatever the algorithm feels like doing that day. So just because this one ad got all of these crazy, long, hateful comments, 500, 600, 5,000 more people are going to see it. Just because Facebook's going to see it, they don't care what's on it. They're going to say, oh, someone is interested in this, so everybody will be interested in it. And I had to, So I just was like, thank you for your feedback. I'm really sorry that you have all this time to be really, really hateful. We'll work on it. And in conclusion, I did hear back from the ODU Cares team. And they basically said she never paid her tuition and she never went to class. There's nothing we can really do for her. We wish her all the best, which of course I can't call her out on the internet. And now I've stopped seeing her, because every time I see her, I validate her and say, hey, we forwarded along your ODU Cares request. Please let us know if you have any questions. We were right on top of that, and she ran out of crazy.
Get help. I don't run on my social media. Shocker. Everybody's like, you're always on social media. No, I have a lot of help. So for each individual in this room, you're managing an organization's messaging, right? Who's managing yours? Because you are the expert in your industry. We have some folks that are in the hotel industry around here, a whole table of folks here. You guys are the experts in your industry, not me, right? But you need to put that out there as well. Weird thing, you actually cannot mandate that somebody use their personal social media feeds to promote your company. It's against the law. So what I always try to do is encourage people. If you use LinkedIn, people will start to recognize your name. You'll get hired for opportunities. They'll start to understand, you're an artist, or you're in the weightlifting industry, or whatever it is that you're doing with CrossFit and stuff. But get help. Ask your team, say, look, what is it that we can all do? We have a wonderful relationship with ODU. Go ODU. I did graduate from there. That wasn't me. And we have an internship, a rolling internship relationship with them. So I get amazing people that are way smarter than me to help with social media campaigns and teaching them every single semester. So I would highly recommend to look into some of the universities and see if you can't take on some interns, and don't use them for coffee work, right? Use their skill. They can put up a social media post quicker than you can say Snapchat, right? They are so smart. I hate when people say bad things about millennials, because I'm like, they are wicked smart, you guys. No, Wicked's not New York, that's Boston. Anyway, wrong room. So I would definitely recommend utilizing help. There are people out there that want to learn. We get resume requests all the time, and unfortunately I can't bring them all on, but put it out there in your social media feeds. Hey, love social media? We're looking to bring you on, right? So you're pulling those folks in instead of push marketing. Any questions about the help stuff? Interns will save your life. And you'll still dictate what the plan is. You'll work together on the plan. But these are the folks that are going to be able to do those stories every day. They're going to be in the room, streaming when you guys are doing events.
Also, I got a lot of help with this lady and her complaint, and I think it worked out, but we'll see. Okay, so validation, right? That was a big part of what I did with this woman and her complaint, right? So obviously she has very strong feelings. You want her to have strong feelings positively about your brand, right? You want her to love ODU. You want her to love your company, your city, your real estate practice, whatever it is that you have set up. But chances are, like I said, what are the odds that someone's going to go on and tweet about how much they love their cable hookup? Like, it's probably just, hopefully, you get more positive feedback than negative, but chances are you'll get some negative feedback. So validate it. If it's profane or, really off the charts or like racist, delete it. But if it's a legitimate complaint, and this lady, despite her really long rant that, you just saw a part of, like, she had some valid complaints. She felt that she was wronged. And that is not anything that you want associated with your brand. So I told her, I validated her complaints. I told her that we were sorry that she had that experience, and I will do what I can and get into it. So you have a question here. Somebody asked me. About the Weather Channel. I'll tell you. So when I worked for the Weather Channel, I worked on the morning show. And I would do their social media posts for the morning show. And I ran the network's account between the hours of like 5 a.m. and noon. It was a really weird time. And we would post sort of the national forecast map every day. And inevitably, there was this one guy who would get on. Like the Weather Channel has millions of followers, and there would be one guy who would get on and be like, why don't you ever talk about Podunk, Arkansas? And I'm like, because there's the whole country, like, what are the odds that we're going to get to, like, your one tiny town in Arkansas? And he was like, no. Every day, this map barely glazes over Podunk, Arkansas. So one day, I had just had enough, and I went to one of our meteorologists, and I said, I need you to get me a weather map of this one specific town. And he says, Sarah, nothing's happening in this town today. And I'm like, I want a map that says it's sunny. So he made me a map, and It was totally on the fly, and it was a random one-time thing. But I was like, hey, today's special small town spotlight is Podunk, Arkansas. Here's your map. And dang, if that guy didn't comment and say, well, if I wanted to know what the weather was, I could just look out the window. So I validated him, and he was still a jerk. But, you know, it was an important lesson learned, and then I knew what the weather was in Arkansas that day.
Okay. Janet is in the back there, and we work on some campaigns together, so I know her personally. Janet, when she sees things on social media, you know, for her clients, one of the things that she'll do is look and make sure everything is spelled correctly. Does it have the logo? I really appreciate that about Janet. She takes it seriously. So posting something on social media, it represents your company, it represents your brand. Now, there's some different things you can do. Like, if you really want to be a little bit more relaxed, you know, use something like Instagram for that. But if you're doing something on LinkedIn, you know, we really want to make sure that we're understanding that this is, and I know I'm speaking to the choir in the room, but there might be one or two people that, you know, are like, well, I'm just going to put this all over the things, right? The little thing says, your manager, I guess we should do Facebook or something, and that's you, right? Like, you're like, we have to try and convince, you know, the powers that be that you're in your organization that, you know, this is people's first impression of us now. It's 2019. This is how people are doing business with us now, versus going to the website first. Sorry, website people. Your social media is driving people to your website. So the things that you're posting on social media, it has to be so interesting and so creative and so fun that it builds so much curiosity that I have to click and find this person's website, right? So just remember that as you start engaging on social media, which is the topic for today, that everything you're doing has got to be so interesting and so important that it's representing your company and it's then driving that website traffic. I hope that was okay with you too to say. But that's the behavior of how people want to do business now. I'm going to look you up on Facebook, then I'm going to check you out on LinkedIn. Maybe I'll send you a connection. I don't know. I want to talk to my husband about it a little bit. And then I'm going to follow you on Instagram. I haven't even gotten to your business yet. 1 hour heating and cooling. All I see on their social media are things that they're doing out in the community. So now I remember, you know, they seem like they actually really care, right? So you have to kind of try and emit that in your social media. So taking it seriously is very serious to me, to tell you guys. So
we do have fun on Fridays.
So one big lesson is share the spotlight with you. So you are your brand, right? You are the feature. You are the star. You know, you are doing 1 hour. You are doing ODU online. You know, you are doing the chamber, right? Well, the people who are going to be commenting and engaging are going to be the ones that boost you. You can't do that. I mean, you used to be able to buy it. Now you can't do that anymore. And even if you did, it's really inauthentic. So if you, without sponsoring an ad, if you've got someone engaging with you, whether it be positive or negative, whether they're liking it, which is like the most passive form of, you know, engagement ever, right? If someone just, like, if I overhear you two talking and I just run up and I'm like, and then run away, like, that means nothing. But online, it nudges it. It nudges it just a little bit, and a comment nudges it more, and a share nudges it even further. And on the different platforms, they have different things. So when you start to get this engagement from people, I don't want to say that you owe them something, but it will benefit you to share the spotlight. Okay, I hear you have a question.
What about
Court TV crazy people? I will tell you about them. So when I worked for CNN, I had an assignment that was on Court TV. And you have not met evangelists like Court TV people. There are people, and for whatever reason, their circumstance in life, they're home all day. They might be stay-at-home parents, or they might be retired, or they might be unemployed. And they get into these court, you know, like they just want to watch court happen. And we made court on TV. And we also had a lot of commentators, and, you know, when the court would go into recess or whatever. And they would get on and have these really in-depth, like, polite conversations. They would research, they would find like all the public records. They would go in and say, you know, well, this guy had a, you know, probably was in Florida. This guy had a criminal record and already, so I don't think he's innocent, and I think the lawyer should bring that up. And they would have these conversations with each other on the Court TV posts. And I'm like, free content, So I was able to get in touch with some of them and say, like, listen, you might know more than the lawyers on our staff. Do you want to come on the show and just riff with them for a little while? And so they would Skype in, and it would be like the biggest deal for them. But then they shared it, and then of course, you know, if they're going to be really, really invested in Court TV, all of their friends and family have heard about it, and they might be interested too. So then they share it because they're like, guys, my dream has come true. I am going to be on Court TV. So everybody I know tune in, and they're part of a niche community, right? And niche communities are gonna evangelize like nobody else. So you know what? Throw them a bone, share the spotlight. Your fans are gonna do so much more for you than you will ever be able to do. And that's not because you don't have skill. It's because they are just sort of unwillingly or unwittingly your ambassadors. So like, dude, if it's their dream to Skype at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday with a former lawyer who's now a TV anchor, let them do it, man.
We talked a little, well, actually, to go back to the fan thing, so now Facebook has the ability where you can recognize your top fans. Have you guys seen that? If you have a Facebook group, it does the same thing. It'll actually like aggregate your top followers or your top fans, and so we want to people want to be recognized. The platforms know this, and so it's encouraging to us to also highlight them. I know a page, and it's a troll page, like all they do is talk smack about each other, but they try to aim to get that top fan badge every week, and they like just go nuts about it. So people like that in social media. They like to be recognized for their work, but the court thing is really interesting too. So one of the things that people will say to me too is, you're on all the platforms, and really I'm not. I just take one image. So Bobby Ann's probably filming or doing something, playing solitaire on her phone, and then I take that and I replicate it in each of the platforms that we're on. All I'm doing is just changing the language just a little bit, right? So I'm tailoring that. Let's say it's an image of me standing here. For Instagram, it'll be a little bit more casual, my verbiage with that. For LinkedIn, it's going to be a lot more buttoned up. Same image, but I'll just tweak the language just a little bit so it's tailored to that platform. So it's okay to be everywhere. People say that to me, and I'm like, they say, oh, you're, things look like they're going so well. Your business is going so well. And I'm like, I'm just a really good marketer, right? So you can come across a certain way on social media for your brands, for your organizations. That is manageable, and it's in your control. Don't assume all your followers are on the platforms, right? So we have folks that are following us on Twitter, but they might not be on Instagram. So I still want to speak to both audiences, and I'll still post the same image, but I'll just tailor it to each platform. You don't have to be on all the platforms. That's the other thing too. So we'll get, when we onboard clients, this is the fun part, we'll actually see all the analytics behind the scenes, and we can usually tell when they've bought followers, because they're a pizza shop in Chesapeake, and 90% of their followers are from, Afghanistan, and I'm like, is your pizza that good? So we have to spend a lot of time cleaning that crap up, because that's not people that, are spending money on their pies, right? So I can always tell when people have bought into those follower schemes or whatever. And I'll tell folks, let's put a pin on Twitter, let's put a pin on Instagram, and let's really just focus on Facebook for a little bit and do this really well. And pin means, you can put an image up and pin it to the top of your page. And I'll be honest, hey, thanks for, visiting our Twitter profile. Right now we're working on our Facebook strategy. Can you head on over there and make sure you follow the conversation? So they still see something when they visit the Twitter account, but they know that all of our activity is going on Facebook. Right? So if you have them out there, a lot of you probably are working in organizations. Well, some Jim started a YouTube. Just put a flat, video up and just say, hey, we're work in progress. Head on over to our Facebook and focus on that one platform and get it up and going to how you want it to be, and then start incorporating all the other ones.
By the way, Lindsay, when someone says it looks like your business is doing really well, the answer is yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm not. I have struggles too, so.
Oh, okay, so here is more about your first follower. So, okay, there's a video here, and I got to figure out how to make it play. And it's a TED Talk, and I'm totally ripping it off. But it is my absolute 100% favorite TED Talk. It's very, very short. It's only like 2 or 3 minutes or whatever. Play. Oh, wait. Oh, there it goes.
I'm so proud of you.
This is really good.
Oh, okay, you can't really hear it. Oh. All right, well, if you can't hear it, what happens is Yeah, this guy is just nuts. Like, it's an awful video, so apologize for that. But this guy is just like out in the field, just dancing like a maniac, and he's all by himself, and he's at a music concert, right? And this other guy joins him, and he's like, you know what? Cool, man. So he's getting into it too. And the leader, the first guy, is like, you know what? Welcome. You and me are dancing together. We're going to do this, right? So then they're mimicking behavior. And then he calls to his friends because he's like, you know what? This guy's got it figured out. So he goes and they're freaking out and they're going crazy. And then in a minute here, yeah, see, there they are. They're interacting and they're loving it. And this first crazy is being as crazy as it's always been. And then the second guy is having a great time because now it's the two of them, right? Well, he's the one who gets the third guy going because there's not just one crazy dude anymore. Now there's one crazy dude and two other guys. And the people are watching them, and now there's three, and three are worth paying attention to, right? There's one crazy dude, and you can be like, well, it's a crazy dude. And now that there's three of them, so there comes more, and then more, and then they all sort of are riffing on this together, and they're having a great time, and they're jamming, and they love it, and they're into this, right? And any of us who've ever been to a live concert can sympathize with this, but it's the same thing online, right? So, and they have a blast, right? And so every extra person that is on adds a validation. So you guys get it. Every extra person is on adds a layer of validation, right? So the first guy is risking all of his social capital, right? He's the one who's out there in the middle of nowhere being like, yeah. And he's the one who everyone is judging, right? Well, the first follower is the one who validates that guy. And he's the one who's the real leader, is the moral of this very brilliant TED Talk that I highly suggest you look up when you get home. But that's the message, right? That your first follower is the real leader. And it's true online as well. This is about just general leadership, but I think it's a really great lesson for social media engagement. You are the dancing guy, right? But you're paid to be. You're paid to be this crazy person who's pushing this message out to the world. And it might be insane and fun and awesome. It might be really serious. You might deal with really heavy topics, or you might deal with something that maybe people don't, necessarily love to chat about, love my air conditioner. Don't know the last time I had a cocktail hour where it was discussed for very long, you know what I mean? So it's the kind of thing where so you're that guy. And your followers, the guys who have those conversations, make it happen, those are the ones who are your real leaders. And they're not getting paid. So embrace them. Definitely give them credit. Thank them. Validate them because they validated you first.
And we're almost done. I got the 5-minute prompt.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, this is the last slide.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about, engagement. Here at Germono, we get the whole gang involved. I highly recommend that. There's a voice on social media that's going to be a little different per person, and I let them own that, and they do what they want to do, because what you want is when people come to those social media feeds and they're engaging with Scott, that really sounds like what Scott sounds like, right? That the language that he's using in his social media is really how it would sound like to him, not a boilerplate. So they'll know, the people will know. But, if your staff is, and the other thing that happens when I come into an organization, clean everything up, is you'll have these folks that, I'm not on Facebook.
I don't want to do the Twitter.
I have to form a LinkedIn profile. Yes, this is how your business is growing. This is how you support your business. You wear tchotchkes, you wear logos, you drink out of the cup with a logo. That's all promoting the company that you work for. Doing it on social media is another way that you can lift that organization. So you have to try and get that conversation to all the people internally. Listen, Jill, I need you to clean up that Instagram because you're posting selfies and they don't look great. And you're representing our company. That's a hard conversation to have, and we have to have them all the time. So getting the folks to buy in internally within your organization. So every single week for hiring our heroes, I tell them in advance, here's the prompt that's about to go out. So all you people need to get on the social media and lift that, right? So tell your staff what you're going to be posting. Here are the specials, here are the deals, here's the artwork, here's whatever, and it's going to go out on Monday. So I need you guys to all build up the energy around it. Share it, comment, like it, do whatever you've got to do, right? Otherwise, you're just running a car up against the wall, right? So those are just some of my tips today. Sarah's going to close out, I think, with our last one.
Yeah, I've got some
broccoli.
lightning round stuff. So, okay, hide the broccoli, meaning that your messages aren't always going to be fun and easy to digest, right? Sometimes you have to eat your vegetables, and sometimes your job will be to get information out that people aren't going to love, and it's not going to be shareable or whatever. So hide it under some nacho cheese and